Hello and welcome to Patricia Gillette. Lovely to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm very well, very good as well, thank you. Patricia is a former top employment litigator and trial lawyer and one of the leading experts and most sought after speakers on gender diversity and equality in the legal profession. And she is also the author of the new second edition of Rainmakers, Born or Bred, which is all about how you can improve your business development skills. What makes someone a rainmaker as opposed to just a successful lawyer?
Yeah, so that was the question that actually spurred me to do the study that we did that was finished in 2013. And my question was, I'm a rainmaker, but I'm not really that terrific. So what makes me successful and somebody who's sitting next to me not successful? And I was really curious about that because I think I had a theory that law firms in particular, but businesses in general, because these principles that we talk about apply not only to lawyers, but people who are trying to establish relationships with clients in any context. I had a premise that really it was missed opportunities rather than lack of skill that was holding people back from being successful. And so we did this study, and what we found when we tested people across the U.S. Unfortunately, we didn't test anyone on the continent or in Asia or any place else, but in the U.S., what we found after we gave tests to people who were successful rainmakers as well as people who were successful in their firms but didn't necessarily control business, those are people we call client service partners, is that there was a difference in the personal characteristics that rainmakers have. And what we found is that rainmakers possess four types of skills that are characteristics, I guess is a better way to put it, that differentiate them from other people in their firms or in their companies. And those four characteristics are something called engagement, which is basically active listening. So when you're talking to someone, you're actually listening to what they're saying, you're taking in information, you're learning what's important to them, you're thinking about them, not thinking about only you. You're looking for opportunities to find connections. That's engagement, really, really being aware of the person that you're speaking with. The second was dominance, which is a word I don't really like, but it's the psychological term that's used. And what it really means is persuasion, the ability to persuade someone to do something. And that comes in this context from understanding the person's business, knowing what they do, how they do it, what makes the business successful, what are the political implications of the people you're dealing with, who's got power, who doesn't have power, what is the business goal versus, in my case, the legal goal. My life can be made very easily if people do exactly what I say, which makes me win a case, but that may not be consistent with what their business goal is. So I have to understand the business. And so dominance is the ability to be creative and innovative and solution-oriented and to talk in language that business people understand so that you can be persuasive. The third characteristic we found was motivation, which is the ability to be a team player. For rainmakers, what that means is that they really view the client as part of their team. So it's not, if you're a lawyer, it's not that you come in and pontificate and share your wisdom with everyone, and luckily they find the right answer, but rather you seek information from them. That's part of the engagement, and they're part of the team. They're part of the decision-making process. And another part of that is rainmakers have to be able to delegate to other people some of the tasks, because the rainmaker's job is to keep the client happy, to keep the client feeling like they're part of the team and that they're engaged. And then the fourth characteristic we found was risk-taking. Rainmakers are big risk takers. So when rainmakers hear no, they hear not yet, or not today. Okay. And so to be an effective rainmaker, you've got to be able to take risks. You've got to be willing to put yourself, your experience, your firm, your company, whatever it is on, and you've got to be willing to hear someone say no. So, as someone who controlled a lot of businesses, a rainmaker in my various firms, I had a lot of times when people said no to me. We're not going to hire you. We're not going to hire your firm. And while it feels bad at the time, what a rainmaker does is they take that and they say, okay, and they go back to the person and say, gee whiz, we'd love to be able to work with you at some point in the future. Can you help us understand what we might do better next time? Or is there something that we were lacking? And you've got to be able to hear the hard messages that people send. Usually people are just nice, but sometimes they say, you talk too fast, you didn't seem interested, you didn't seem to know, whatever. But you've got to be willing to take those kinds of risks. So those 4 characteristics are what we found differentiated rainmakers from what we called client service partners. And those are the characteristics. When I give these talks to firms and to companies, you see people nodding their head saying, yeah, that's exactly what makes me successful. Now, that's something that can be taught to some people, but not to everyone. Not everybody can be a rainmaker, nor should everyone be a rainmaker.
Okay.
So those are the characteristics that we found. What we didn't find, if I can just add, is that where you went to school or your grades or your background were not actually predictors of success. Many rainmakers did not go to the top schools in the U.S. Many rainmakers were not on law review. They got good grades, but they weren't on law review, which is the highest achievement some people would say that you can get in law school. Most came from blue-collar backgrounds, not privileged backgrounds. They didn't go to special schools or anything. All rainmakers worked before they became lawyers. And what they learned in that context was servicing the customer, because that's one of the primary characteristics. Rainmaking is really about building relationships. That's what it's about. And people who've had experience in the workplace prior to entering into this next phase of their professional life, whether it be, for me, it was selling men's clothes. For other people, it's working in a grocery store or a bookstore or, doing some type of service-oriented work. You learn how to be interested and interesting. Mm-hmm. We have those other additional background factors that we looked into as well, which were quite surprising in terms of their impact on whether you could be a successful rainmaker.
Very interesting. Yeah. So I guess maybe if those are maybe the kind of core attributes of being a successful rainmaker and business development.